Welcome back to Magicpedia, the online encyclopedia teaching and revealing magic tricks. In this episode, I want to go over something a bit different. I want to do a rundown of the top 5 things that I do to practice my sleight of hand while I'm watching telly or travelling or just sitting about with some free time. Usually, you're watching telly and you can, instead of playing on your phone, you can play with your deck and practice all the moves you need to practice. So number 5 is forcing a card. I've put it at the bottom of the list because ideally to force a card, although you want to practice it before you do it on anyone, these are all things that you kind of will be practicing on your own, and forcing a card is easier to practice with someone else. So I would practice maybe the riffle force, so practice your swing cut and keeping as small a pinky break as possible. That's quite a big pinky break, but I mean you don't really need much of a pinky break at all. And practice keeping it square at the front so it doesn't look suspicious. And then just practice, if you've got a mirror or a camera that you can do it to, you can just practice how you look covering it from the front as you pick up from the pinky break. Stuff like that you can practice, but again it's a lot easier, they're actually saying stop, so it's a lot easier to practice with someone else. The crisscross force, you don't really need to practice much, and again they're going to be cutting off the force card, so it's easier to do with someone else who's actually naturally cutting off an amount of cards. The cut deeper force doesn't really require any practicing, so I mean forcing, you do want to practice before you do it on someone for real, but I've put that at the bottom of the list. Okay, next kind of goes hand in hand with that is your controls. So it's easier if they're going to hand you the card, but I guess with the 2 main controls, the double undercut and the kind of swing cut twirly one, you're taking the card off them anyway, so you can practice that by yourself. But some other controls, if you learn controls elsewhere, require, or even them returning the card to the deck. You want them to put the card there. It's a bit difficult to practice if you're putting the card back. And then this is where you'd then control the card like that. So I mean, or even if you're not controlling the card and they're just returning the card to the deck, if you're using something like a key card principle, it's better if you're practicing with someone and they're returning it, and you don't really need to practice these things by yourself, but I've put them in the list anyway. So number 3, the top 3, these are things you can actually practice just over and over. You can just drill these as you're watching telly. 1 is shuffling and control shuffling, so this is in at number 3. So the riffle shuffle without dropping them, that's why you want to practice, and keeping it on the top or keeping the bottom card on the bottom, or just practicing your riffle shuffle. Overhand shuffle, so practicing controlling a card. So let's say you want to control the top card to the bottom, you can practice that. Controlling it back up to the top. I went over this in more detail in the video. I'll put the link in the description below for all of this stuff, for where I went into it in more detail. But just practicing your riffle shuffles to control cards. So that's the overhand shuffle and the riffle shuffle practicing, and also practicing your Hindu shuffle. Okay, you want to practice that with the move that we taught. So keeping the break, and they tell you when to stop. Take a look at that card. Okay, so practicing overhand shuffle, riffle shuffle, and Hindu shuffle. Number 2 is practicing your false cuts, or just the swing cut in general. If you want to practice just the normal swing cut, so just practicing that way back from episode 1, I believe. So just practicing the swing cut or practicing the false swing cut. I think that's worth practicing, or the table cuts. So or the table cuts. Number 2 was cuts, and number 1 is the double lift. So just practicing getting, see that was awful, practicing getting the double lift so that the 2 cards stay together as much as possible, although they shouldn't be coming too far out of contact with the deck because you're just scraping them. See, that's what, 3 cards there. So you can practice either just trying to do the strike double lift, or trying to get a pinky break under 2 cards, and then doing it from the pinky break. You know, however you want to practice it, and then build up towards doing it more and more believably, shall we say. But the double lift is probably the hardest one to practice and get it convincing. That's what I meant to say. You want your double lift to be as convincing as possible. And then, I mean, we haven't taught any colour changes yet, but if you want to practice any of that sort of stuff, then for now you'll have to have learned that somewhere else, I guess, but it's worth practicing that as well. So you've got forcing, controlling, shuffling, cutting, and the double lift. Now, I'll see you in the next episode if you want to leave now, but let's see how long it takes to solve this. I say how long, I haven't set a timer for it. See you in the next episode.